Brian Hacker from YouTube wants to know. I was a huge fan of Joni Chyna Lauer, and I was wondering if Brian had ever reached out to help, or if Chyna ever reached out to Brian for any type of help with her addictions or with her life in general.
Yeah, so look, the sad part about that was so she was still alive when I got sober, but when I saw her last was at a TNA taping, like in Nashville, like back in the day when it was there at the Asylum in Nashville, and her and X-Pac showed up to do the show or something, and she was out of it, and I was kind of out of it too, but she looked right through me and didn't recognize me, and it was really when I probably should have reached out or tried to help or something, but I was in active addiction at that time too. So I just, at the time, it was like, oh, she didn't even know who I was, and it hurt my feelings, but I know why she didn't know who I was, and I've been there. And so it didn't hurt my feelings. It just reminded me of how drugs have made me in the past. And so the answer is no. And sadly, that's the answer.
So in his question, he actually had some follow-ups. I said, I'm going to maybe push and press a little bit and get a little uncomfortable. He then asked, did you guys were ever in a situation where you used together?
No, so we never used together. And I'll tell you the truth, she never used when I used to use. Like we would travel on the road together, and I would smoke a joint in the back of the car with the window rolled down and my head up, trying not to get smoke in the front seat, because she didn't do that stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think it got bad later when we were further apart. Had it been that way when we were closer together, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because I'd have been right there with her. But no, we never used anything together.
Well, Brian,
I don't know that I could.
I'm sure. Oh, no?
I don't know that I could with her. She was such I don't know, I revered her a little bit because she was such a straight edge person and such a weightlifting, eating right and living right. And
that you feel like you're corrupting someone.
Yeah. I felt like I would be a bad influence. You know
I have been a bad influence and corrupted some friends in my college days before.
Yes,
so.
I have in my professional career.
Brian then also just said, thanks to you both, we're kicking ass with the giant Blue Chew stiff leg.
Oh, yes. Big boot. That big boot.
Brian Fuller asks and says, love the new podcast. I haven't missed one. You mentioned that Chyna was so smart in the DX Invasion episode. How would you rank the book smarts of that group of DX top to bottom, and then the street smarts? From listening to your stories, I bet the old dog will be at the top of one list and maybe at the bottom of the other.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian.
Well, none of us were very book smart. I would imagine Chyna and Hunter probably were the smartest. Me and Billy and X-Pac kind of were just walking around bumping into each other. But I think they were probably the book smartest. But yeah, definitely the old road dog was on the other list. But one time we went, me and Billy, it was weird. Me and Billy it was just me and Hunter and Chyna. We drove from the building across the street to fill up before we were driving. We saw some fans there. The fans yelled, like we were heels at the time. They yelled something. I started cussing them out and running towards their car like I was going to fight them. I turned around and Hunter and Chyna were in the store looking out the window at me. like so they always were a little smarter than I was. I was going to fight the car full of guys. They were in getting smart water and beef jerky.
I mean, you got to keep that level inside you alkaline, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was going to fight them all.
We're gonna get into some fight stories one of these days soon.
Yeah.
And there's more than a few of them.
There's a couple of them. There's a couple of them for sure.
All right, here we go. This may be one of our last. This may be the last question.